Hi everyone and welcome to another very special pick a card reading dedicated for tonight's partial lunar eclipse taking place in the sign of Sagittarius. Now a lunar eclipse is also a full moon, so it has very much to do with endings, completions, the culmination of the lunar cycle, but since it is an eclipse, it is also a very karmic energy, much more karmic than just a simple full moon, and also it speaks in tension with Mars and Neptune from the sign of Pisces, a very karmic sign, and the highlight of everything is that it takes place on top of the Great Attractor, which is basically the astrological symbolism of the mystery and majesty and the unknowable ways of the living God. So this eclipse is going to have a surprise factor in it for all of us. Now, before I get into the reading, I would just like to mention another element, that this is just first of the series of 6 eclipses that is going to take on this year. So this year is going to be really karmic from so very many different perspectives, and also we don't even need the eclipses. We already had so much karmic elements playing on the world stage and in our lives since the very beginning of the year. So this just continues that massive theme. But this reading focuses on our personal lives and not on the world stage. If you'd like to know how it's going to play out on the world stage, just look at our special lunar eclipse in Sagittarius videos, and that will reveal much more to you. So as always, please just look at the 3 pile of cards for a couple of seconds, then choose the one which appeals to your intuitive senses the most, and then jump straight to the interpretation. I would also like to mention that this is the kind of reading where you are not limited to just one option. All 3 can resonate at the same time, or you can just pick up elements which resonate and discard the rest. So this is where you're not really limited. Now let's begin with the first pile. Now the cards for the first pile are the Hermit, 7 of Coins reversed, and 9 of Cups reversed. For those of you who were drawn to the first pile, these cards kind of reflect your history, your past, your life, how it always used to play out from a karmic perspective. And it's definitely going to trigger a massive change, but this change involves a very big closure, a psychological closure, which may be really uncomfortable. It's also gonna take place around the course of the next 9 months, so it's not going to be anything instant, but the realization, the epiphany may be actually instant. But as I said earlier, it's not very comfortable. So the Hermit opens the reading and it speaks about your life story, but this is where the Hermit doesn't symbolize as much solitude, but rather service to others. This represents that even from early childhood, you have been actually in the service of others. This may have to do with your family, where you actually had to take care of your siblings or help out very much, sacrifice your childhood and your time, or maybe you worked shoulder to shoulder with your parents and your family for your, material security. And later on in life, naturally, maybe you have chosen a career based on service of others, or a type of work or livelihood where you had to serve others. But it's not just limited to career or work or anything like that. You have always been a person who kind of helped others regardless. You have, like mountains of charitable work behind you, where you just basically helped out people in need, may it be materially, may it be favors, psychologically, friends, family, whoever. Like you were a person of maximum compassion. And that was your life. That was all your life. And, according to the universe's principles, you should have great mountains, oceans of good karma behind you. So you're waiting for some kind of karmic reward, you're waiting for some kind of celestial help, you're waiting to things to come together in your life, or at least some guidance or anything to help you out. And it never came, not even when you were in big trouble. It just, nothing moved, nothing ever really happened. And that kind of left you with a very low self-worth, and not even from a human perspective, not even what we consider as low self-worth, but rather, if karma and life and reality functions at a certain way for everyone else, well, why doesn't it function the same way for you ever? And this is exactly what this eclipse is going to be changing, because you see that Seven of Coins reversed, that means no harvest. The Nine of Cups reversed, it means not even emotional harvest. So your good deeds have done absolutely nothing for you, and you don't even get anything in return. And this is changing, but not in the way you expected. The way it's gonna change is that psychologically you're going to purge out the expectation. Basically, you're going to wake up to the fact that, well, you're a living, breathing superhero alive here on Earth, and you don't really need anything in return because you're so wealthy, you're so prosperous on the inside, you're so super strong that you don't need anyone in your life. You don't need anyone's money, you don't need anyone's compassion, you don't need anyone's charity. You never actually gave to receive, you just gave because you could. Without even knowing, you were like a trillionaire in energy inside of you, so that's why you were so strong enough to be able to help absolutely anyone in your life, and it wasn't that hard for you. Energy wise, yeah, emotionally it was hard, materially it was hard, it wasn't easy as a human being, but you were loaded, as in you were so strong, and you didn't even know this about yourself. And this is exactly what this eclipse is going to be reflecting to you, that you don't need anyone, and you don't even need karma to play out in your life, because you never gave to receive. And once you eliminate this, once you stand from a place of being infinitely proud of yourself, loving yourself, trusting yourself, and simply owning your true strength and your own independence, now that is going to be closing the door. Symbolically, it's like, when a leech feeds on blood, and it's full of blood, it just drops off, and there it is, bye. And that is exactly what's gonna happen right now in your life. All your problems, all your worries, all the expectations are just going to drop off like that leech because they're full. But along with it, your cross, your pain, your suffering, your hardship, your low self-worth also drops off. And what will it leave you with? Well, it's going to leave you with your light-hearted spirit. It's going to leave you with your inner child, and your inner child is so very loving to yourself that do you actually need anything or anyone in your life? Because when you are allied with yourself and you enjoy the life that you share with yourself, every second of existence is gonna be fun, is gonna be just a game. It's going to be a big adventure where if you don't take anything seriously anymore, nothing can actually stop you in your tracks. And whatever you're gonna desire, out of the purity of your heart, out of the innocence of the inner child, is going to come to you with great ease and with quickness. So this is like entering into your true state of flow, but where the past, and yes, sometimes even the positivity of the past, your service has to be nullified. That is not who you are anymore. You're not a servant, you're not a slave, and that's why you're not gonna be repaid for it, because you haven't done it because you're a servant, you've done it because you could. and there it is. That is the massive karmic closure of your life, which is going to open something totally different and fun. Now, for those of you who have been attracted to pile number 2, your cards are the Sun, the Knight of Coins reversed, and the Chariot. Now, for you guys, it's not about ending, but rather completion, rather getting back on track, because the Sun suggests that in the recent past, maybe the last 6 months or the last year, you have discovered certain hobbies and passions and talents that you have never used before in your life. It may be something to do with self-expression, like art, writing, some kind of project, the desire to go freelance, the desire to start a business, or to get into a job or into a domain which really resonates with you, but you needed to prepare yourself, you needed a little bit of study, you needed a little bit of research and training, and for some not even official ones where you just sign up to the course, but you just had to do it on your own terms, through your own means, and that took a lot of effort, that took a lot of time, and of course you struggled a little bit, because that's exactly why that Knight of Coins is reversed, because it wasn't that easy for you. That Knight either means time which you didn't have and you had to just manage it as well as you could, or it means resources, you couldn't make money out of it, or if you made money it was very small and insignificant. But at the same time, the Sun is direct, which means that the feedback you got from others and the emotional support, even from total strangers, was such a positive feedback that it actually made you believe in yourself, it actually made you embrace your talent, and you just saw that you can actually do this as long as you keep on going on your path. But this is where how this realization is going to happen is going to be very different for different people, because for some people this represents a moment of breakthrough when you receive some, money or material benefit, maybe like an inheritance or something like that, which will buy you a lot of time, where you can just do your own thing without worrying that you're gonna starve. Well, it's not gonna be luxury and wealth, but it's going to be the freedom not to worry about, starving and stuff like that. For other people, this might represent that either someone relocates to where you are, or you relocate to where they are, or some kind of connection or partnership is going to be formed, which is going to benefit both sides. But the nature of this partnership is not very clear. This is the surprise factor of this eclipse, because it can be just professional, it can be just friendship, it can just be mutual help, but it also can be romantic. But for others still, this comes through as something which has begun in the past, maybe where you are divorcing, you're separating from your partner, but it's a massive downgrade to your finances because your partner was the one who supported you, but it's a huge upgrade to your heart, to your self-worth, to your freedom, so you're gonna be more than okay with it. While for others still, the divorce took place in the past, in the recent past, and this is where you just regenerate emotionally and also materially. And this is where the Chariot comes in, because when that moment happens, when things come together, when you're going to be enabled, so to speak, well then that is going to be your moment of triumph. That is going to be your moment when you can just live your life, when you can just do what you are passionate about, work your own way, and of course live life in a totally different and new way than you have ever done. This represents new routines, new habits, new daily activities, new friends, new connections, or for some people actually the opposite. It might represent not having any connections, and that is their happiness, that is their freedom. So this is very, very personal. Whatever makes you more happy, whatever makes you feel more triumphant, whatever means progress for you personally. So this eclipse is going to be like a completion which will just put you back in your tracks, break the stagnation, and ultimately the sun's self-expression. This is where you can truly be yourself, and your life is going to be about your story and yourself. For those of you who were attracted to the third pile, your cards are the Devil, the High Priest, and the Empress reversed. Now this is really complicated because for you guys, this eclipse has absolutely nothing to do with material life or anything that has to do with external reality, but it is rather something which has very much to do with your faith, your life view, your principles, your life philosophy. So basically Sagittarius. And your reading is opened by the Devil card. Now this is a very tricky interpretation because you see, this represents your inner truth, this represents your spirituality, your faith, whatever you believe in, and however you view life, and of course the metaphysical aspects of life. And it says that you are a very passionate truth seeker, and you have been seeking the truth always from early childhood, and you have done a lot of research. You are a man or a woman of logic, of rationality. It has to make perfect sense with you, and it's not something purely based on blind faith, because simply that is not who you are, and you can't even be that because it doesn't function for you at all. And your core principles, your core truth, whatever you believe in, is very, very authentic. It is very, very logical, scientific, down to earth, but at the same time it's perfectly spiritual. So it's not, absurd. It is not a dichotomy. It is not forced. It is actually very harmonious. But this is where in the recent past, maybe the past 2 or 1 year, you have been influenced by this modern spiritual current, maybe this new age movement, or maybe you found like a true speaker, a guru, a personal coach, or something like that, which kind of added a lot of fantasy, a lot of fiction, a lot of surrealism to your own faith. But it resonated very strongly because the core principle, the core truth matched 100% your own. It just made it a little bit more fantasy based, so to speak. And also, I think there is a very powerful emotional element, because it doesn't matter where you found your source of inspiration and that current, maybe a guru or whatever, you either idolize that person or the information was honey coated, so it was like pure honey to your soul. It was sweet, it was enlightening, it was uplifting. Basically, it was too good to be true. And for other people, it can also have very much to do with, plant medicine or escapism, substances, fantasy, neurolinguistic programming, or any kind of addition, which also sugarcoats everything, Of course, it makes it very, very positive, very, very uplifting, very, very hopeful. Or it could be, like excessive positivism, which, makes everything seems like paradise, like something ideal, like a utopia. But ultimately, that is not your true path, and the reason why you discovered it, the reason why it resonated so profoundly, was not to confuse you, but rather quite the opposite. Your guides or the universe made you connect with that source of information or whatever to highlight your own authenticity and not to make you a follower, This is where the contradiction between your realism and their, surrealism should have enforced your own inner truth and not make you fall into their trap. It isn't bad intended, don't get me wrong. It isn't toxic, it isn't bad. It is just simply not who you are. It isn't your path. So this eclipse is going to shock you back to reality, where all of a sudden you discover that your original path, your original views, your original core beliefs, your true and authentic inner truth and faith were right all along. Those are what you need to do in life. That is who you are. That is what you truly resonate with, and not the element of fantasy. And that is like a low. That is like falling off your cloud, falling off your ivory tower, and it's gonna sting a bit. You are gonna feel a little bit silly that how did you buy into that? Because you are such a very rational, cerebral person. You're like a Uranus in astrology, the cold, hard sword of truth. But regardless, it's going to serve your very best interest, even if it stings a bit, even if you're gonna lose a lot of friends, spiritual friends, mostly, if you know what I mean, soul tribe, soul family, twin flame, or whatever. But all of a sudden, you're gonna find yourself back on your original path, stronger, more confident, more aware, more even magical than ever before, because your mind knows. You have discernment. You know the truth. You are the genius that can tell fiction from fact in a millisecond. And if anything, all of this was meant to consolidate your true authenticity and your mental abilities. And that is why the Empress is reversed. Well, because it is gonna sting a little bit. But on the other hand, this will put you back on your path towards happiness, seeking your own happiness, seeking your own harmony, and ultimately the Empress, your connection and admiration for Mother Nature, because you are the type of person who genuinely believes that Mother Nature has all the truth and info that we could possibly ever need, and her ways are the true ways. Well, this concludes this pick a card reading. Wish everyone a very, very blessed eclipse and full moon. It is a perfect time to meditate. It is a perfect time to do inner work. It is also a perfect time to, do exercises, work on yourself. Because yes, absolutely, the moon speaks in maximum tension with Mars in Pisces, which can be a little bit aggressive, which can be a little bit of anger and rage. But at the same time, if you do like physical exercise, breath work, or anything that just distresses you, it can be a moment of big, big truth and epiphanies. Thank you again. Wish everyone a blessed and safe day. Bye for now.